Right, changes made to the city's paid parking program at Balboa Park.
All right, here to explain, San Diego Mayor Todd Gloria and City Council President Joe LaCava. Good morning to both of you, and thank you for being here. All right, Mayor, we're going to start with you.
Sure.
Tell us about some of these. What are the changes?
So the changes are that we are setting aside 7 of the lots to be permanently free, always to city residents who register their vehicles with the city. This is a change from before, when those lots would have required payment on certain occasions. These will be totally free. We're also changing the hours of enforcement from as late as 8 p.m. now to 6 p.m. This is based on a conversation working with the council president and some of our colleagues to try and find a compromise that can work forward, that allows access to the park while simultaneously creating a permanent ongoing funding source to make improvements to the park.
This was a difficult launch. It still is. Was there always room, kind of wiggle room, if you will, to make changes like this? Because some people are saying, well, now they're backtracking. Eventually, it's all going to go away. Did you always anticipate kind of the bumps in the road, if you will, and kind of adjust to those?
Well, I mean, this isn't on tablets from on high. I mean, all of this is changeable, of course, but I think what is true is that the council president and some of his colleagues, asked for change. And I think an important part of being mayor is listening to folks and trying to make modifications. I think the truth, though, is those modifications are not cost-free. They will have an impact elsewhere in the city budget, and the council president, to his credit, understands that, and we're going to work together to try and do that. But ultimately, what we're trying to do is find a way forward to make sure that we can address our budgetary challenges and continue to invest in Balboa Park. Making additional cuts to the park would probably create some of the same challenges that we're hearing now from folks who are opposed to paid parking.
Are you happy with this agreement?
I'm actually very happy. We had a press conference a couple of weeks ago now where we talked about a very simple idea. Let's just try to figure out how to make this less expensive for city residents. And when the city council takes action, it's kind of big picture, kind of a simple concept, and then we hand it over to operations to figure out how to do that. So when the mayor stepped in and said, hey, I'm ready to make some changes, these are exactly the kind of changes, because it does the balance of free parking for city residents and tries to retain as much of the revenue as we can so we can continue to maintain our beautiful Balboa Park.
Tell me more about how you guys came to this agreement, not just between you, but the both of you, but all the input you've gotten, and you've gotten a lot of input from residents, from the museums, from the restaurants, from everybody is chiming in with their opinions. How do you come to this agreement for now? And how many more changes are coming down?
Well, look, we've been taking a lot of input, as you said. We've heard loud and clear from the public through all the different ways at city council hearings and directly to my office. We also heard from the institutions, from the Balboa Park Cultural Partnership here, about what some of the challenges are, the number of folks who are or are not coming. We hear different things from different people, of course, but that all kind of synthesized that we needed to do something. And, really the challenge that really struck me was there was so much noise around this that even if you wanted to have a different conversation or you wanted to do a different advertising campaign to get people back in the park, that was lost. And we really needed to kind of clear the decks a bit so that we could actually get to a better place for everybody involved. So are there changes? As the mayor said, this is a big action that we've taken. There's a lot of components to that. We're always going to be monitoring that and make sure it works best for everyone.
Have you gotten preliminary feedback from the community to see if they're happy with this? Like, will this be the end to this conversation now?
We've heard a lot of good feedback. Thank you for actually clarifying how parking is going to work. The folks who didn't like it in the first place are still not going to like it. I would not have expected to change their minds. But we're getting a lot of positive feedback. The Balboa Park Cultural Partnership actually voted last Friday morning to actually endorse this change here. And it's a good stepping stone to make sure that we're right-sizing this. And as the mayor said, trying to keep a good eye on that budget, because this is about revenue. We don't want to hide that fact. We'll have to figure out how to make up the difference of some of that reduced revenue.
I wanted to hear from both of you, because I know, Mr. Mayor, you put a lot of work into this and planning. You voted for it. Were you guys surprised at the backlash and just the level of anger and frustration from residents, given the work you put into it in the voting? Were you guys surprised at what has happened since?
I wasn't. I lived a version of this many years ago when Irwin Jacobs, the founder of Qualcomm, proposed paying for a underground parking structure in the park that came with paid parking. We saw some very similar things here. But what Joe and I have had to face is a situation where all the same cost pressures that your viewers are dealing with are experienced by the city as well. And people love the park, but they won't love the park if the street lights are out, if the streets are potholed, and we don't have park rangers. So when trying to figure out a way to keep the park shining while simultaneously meeting our budgetary challenges, this seems like a reasonable thing to do. I think any kind of change, the first time that paid parking has existed in the park was going to be difficult. But the fact of the matter is most major parks like this in the United States, I'm thinking about Golden Gate Park in San Francisco or Central Park in New York, do the same thing. I don't know about their situation, but creating a funding source to support the park is pretty important. And Shally, to how people will feel about it going forward, I think they're going to love it when they start seeing the investments in the park, which could happen as soon as next month, where we can say your parking revenue, we've already collected $700,000, over 3,000 San Diegans have registered for permits. When they start seeing their money being reinvested back in the park, I think support for this will increase dramatically.
You talk about that money, and now with this change, you probably allocated, like, this is the amount of money that we're going to get in and we're going to be able to use, and now with the change, that money is going to be less. So now what are you going to do?
Well, there'll be fewer improvements in the park, but I think we can still make more than would otherwise happen. Remember, we are dealing this year with a $318 million budget deficit. You can't make reductions like that without directly impacting the park. These investments are going to happen in spite of that reduction, and I think that that will be good. And this is an ongoing permanent funding source. My goal remains to get the park off of the city's general fund, to protect it from the whims of the national economy and allow it to continue to shine. This is a step in that direction, but more will need to come, and Council President and I are going to have to work together to make sure that we make up for that lost revenue.
All right. Well, as Raul asked, 2025 was a tough year. We had to make a lot of big decisions to deal with our budget deficits because there hadn't been these kinds of actions over past administrations. And we knew a lot of them were going to be unpopular. But at the end of the day, we know that folks want city services. They want us to take care of Balboa Park. They want our library hours open. We want our recreation center hours, and that takes revenue. And as we have increasing costs, the city council and the mayor have to figure out new ways to actually balance that budget. So we've made big decisions. I think we've done a very good job.
I've heard a lot of the folks at City Council, and there seems to be a running theme of not understanding, just as residents, why we have to pay for all this when there's so many taxes and we know how expensive it is to live here. And some are accusing the council of just mishandling the finances. They blame the council, and not necessarily the individuals in office now, just the council, of getting us to this point. What do you tell with those frustrated people already paying more for absolutely every aspect of their lives?
Well, this is certainly the hardest part of the conversation. San Diego is an expensive place to live, irrespective of what the city council may do. And what we do is, when I find that when I actually sit down and talk with people directly about the concerns they have, they understand, they get it. But when you have other people raising a lot of noise and using these kinds of conversations for other agendas, it makes it very difficult to kind of penetrate that. But by and large, most of the constituents I talk to, and I'm out there talking with people out on the street all the time, they're generally happy. They always tell me, you're doing a good job, keep it up. They're not excited about the fees. I'm not excited about increasing costs, but they're generally very much understanding of all this.
Mr. Mayor, what do you say to that? Because I know that Joe's mentioned twice, he's used the word noise 2 or 3 times.
Yeah.
And there have been a lot of vocal people out there, noise, call it what you will. What's your response to that?
Well, I understand why people may be frustrated because they've been told for decades that they can have everything and not pay anything for it. This goes back to, you could put on a national political convention 30 years ago and do employee salary increases and everything stays the same. Well, that's not the case. And Joe and I, unfortunately, are the ones 30 years later that have to do the difficult work. I understand it's a change to hear truth from all elected officials, but I've only ever promised San Diegans to tell them the God-honest truth. And the fact of the matter is that the costs that they're experiencing are also borne by the city. We buy gasoline. We pay SDG&E. All of those costs are going up, and as a consequence, we have to balance our budget. Unlike the federal government, we are required by law to balance our budget, and I'm simply not willing to do that and watch our quality of life degrade. So if it means doing things like the paid parking situation in Balboa Park in order to keep our crown jewel shining, I will do that, and I'll be honest and transparent about it. And when we hear feedback that we think is reasonable, we'll make adjustments as we've done Friday.
Is this it for changes, or you think you're going to, in 6 months, the parking will be lifted, there will be no more parking at Balboa Park? Take me 6 months into the future. Is this going to stay?
Well, my commitment is to continue to look at the data and make adjustments based on what is good management for the city and for the park. So if something came along those lines, more modification would be necessary. But I think where we've landed is a very reasonable place. It's a compromise that does the things of maintaining access while creating revenue to keep the park great.
Well, and to the mayor's point, this change is going to have a hit on revenue. We're going to have to figure out how to make that shortfall. If anybody talks about taking away entirely, that's a much bigger hole that we're going to have to fill, and it's going to be very difficult to do that. I'm committed with the mayor. Do those tweaks, do those refinements, but let's keep this in place.
Council President Joe LaCava and San Diego Mayor Todd Gloria, we thank you both for the time this morning.
All right, thank you very much.